here on Dancing in the Kitchen with an interview segment with the amazing SuzE Q.
Hi, how are you?
Good. She is a dancer, a choreographer, and a holistic coach. And today we are going to dive a little bit deeper into talking about creativity and mental health, and specifically movement, so dance and the power of movement, kind of the somatic connection between mental health, brain, body, all of it.
Yeah, it's so connected.
Yeah, so I am super excited to hear your perspectives on this, and I guess we'll kick off with, when did you first kind of become aware of or recognize that connection between mood, mental health, and the body?
Well, I would say I probably intrinsically understood it as a child, that when I moved, I felt joyful and happy. But what really transpired is when I became like an angsty preteen and teen. You know, you have like all these feelings going on and you want to get them out. And I found that I would do that through dance, through lyrical dance, where it was very emotional and emotive and connected to the heart. And I would even cry. It was cathartic, you know? So I feel like that was probably when I really recognized the way that you can move your emotion through dance.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then, do you feel like there are specific ways that you can kind of harness that power of moving emotion through the motion of the body? So sort of specific movements that maybe evoke something, or just sort of specific practices that help with that?
Well, you know, this one isn't really related to dance, but I will say, when I get really mad, I will like throw air punches and air kicks and like do it until I'm exhausted and just flop on the bed. And then I usually have a good cry. You know, so it's like really allowing yourself to like move your body and physically move the energy that's inside that feels like it might be constricted and kind of like held on the inside, where you can just get it out and then it's not festering inside you anymore. You know, I can't remember where I first heard it, but there's this term, emotion, energy in motion. So your emotions are energy in motion, and to be able to move it through your body and get it out so it doesn't stay stuck in there. Because I know the times that I have had to kind of suck things in, you know, and you can feel, I can feel it physically, like, you know, and it's not healthy.
No, definitely not.
For your physical body or your mental health. So being able to release that and let it go so that you can be a channel. You know, if you think about babies, right? A baby will be crying one minute and then laughing the next, because they are a pure channel for this emotion, this energy in motion. They're not holding on to what happened 5 minutes ago or 5 months ago, 5 hours ago, whatever it is, you know, they're this clear channel. So now as adults, we can't always do that, because it's not always appropriate to cry or throw air punches in the boardroom.
Right.
So sometimes you do get to discern and go, okay, this isn't the right place for me to let this go. But then revisit it later and go, okay, now I'm in a safe place where I can allow myself to get mad or to be sad and to really let it go.
I love all of that. I think about with babies too, how many times a day they cry and how many different mood changes they go through. And I know for myself, when I started my recovery journey, I was used to like numbing out and shutting down and dealing with depression, and similarly to like the anger and how it kind of blocks the sadness, and you got to work through the anger to get to what's actually underneath, which is the hurt. Depression is similar, where it's like I'm gonna just freeze and not feel anything because it's too painful. And so for me, and also for my clients, when they start to go through that recovery and healing process, there's like an unfreezing and a melting and a feeling of all the grief that's been repressed, right? And I remember I did an outpatient program, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go through a whole day, like usually by 10 a.m. I was like, I'm defeated, I'm going back to bed, right?
Yeah.
And the ups and downs, and I found that to be so exhausting. But then over time, I built up my capacity and my resilience to where like I can go through a day and go through the ups and downs and, you know, be able to let those emotions flow through like you're talking about, so that they don't derail me. Because if we don't deal with them, I mean, what do you think happens when we don't deal with emotions and we let them get stuck in the body?
I think it causes disease. I do. Louise Hay has a list of different ailments and what their energetic equivalent is or emotional equivalent is, and I think it's really fascinating. And so
I agree. Yeah.
You know, I feel like, you know, when we were cavemen and cavewomen, or even in tribal times, we didn't have the same type of impact on our nervous system as we do now. It's like, okay, the fear is the tiger chasing us, right? So you're like running through the jungle, and the tiger will only chase you for a certain amount of time. It will either catch you or you'll get away. And then your nervous system can go back into the rest and restore and digest. But now our fears are, how am I going to pay my rent? Or, you know, is this person upset with me? You know, my partner, you know, whatever it is, like we have these mental fears that really become like tigers chasing us, sometimes all night long.
Right.
You know,
it's like constant.
It's constant. So the body isn't having that opportunity to go into the rest, digest, and repair parasympathetic nervous system anymore. So now we need to cultivate it in other ways and be aware that this is something that's happening to us. And I think that's one of the reasons we have so many more diseases now in this prevalent society, other than, you know, the toxins in the foods and all that stuff.
A whole other conversation.
It's a totally other conversation and rabbit hole.
That's true. Well, and when you talk about, you know, if the antelope, for instance, gets away from the tiger, or the lion, that's the correct consonant, it shakes, right?
Yeah.
To like release the trauma, which is a
Yes.
somatic, like the physical stress has to be discharged. You know, something that you and I also have in common is we're both Kundalini Yoga instructors. And I remember when I was doing my teacher training, one of the things that they were talking about was how everybody was going to be so stressed out in this particular age, the Aquarian age, because the information is bombarding us constantly. And if we don't have some kind of a practice to deal with that and to dispel and discharge that strain and that stress, then it said anybody who doesn't have that practice will basically be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious to hear with Kundalini kind of what role that has played in your understanding of like the somatic connection with the mind and the mood. And then I'd love to talk after that a little bit about your coaching practice.
For sure. So I'd love to share a story about the first time that I realized I didn't have to listen to my mind. Because I think that is something that really can derail people, is if you're always listening to that inner critic, right? So I was in a down dog position, which is also called triangle pose, and we were chanting. And after about 2 minutes, my mind just was like going, just like a little hamster on a wheel. It was like, oh, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? This teacher's a B, you know, all the things, right? And I was like, and I just watched it. I watched it, and we kept going. We went for 11 minutes, and I just kept chanting louder and louder and louder. And at the end of 11 minutes, I thought to myself, wow, where else in my life do I let that voice in my head stop me? You know? And so that was like the beginning of me realizing that there was something different. Yeah, the voice in my head, it's there, it's the ego, it's there to protect you. It's what keeps you from running into a fire unless you're a fireman, and then you've got a different connection there. But, you know, it keeps you safe, but it's not made to run the show.
Right.
It's not supposed to run the show. So that was like my entryway in. And, you know, just like you were talking with the animals shaking it off, you know, I watch dogs do that too. Birds do it. And that's something that really, I started practicing through Kundalini Yoga. We would shake. We would just be like, you know, we would shake it off, shake it all off. And it just felt so good to do that. And me having a dance background and being very structured and, you know, technical, to come into a place where it's like, doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter how silly, just go for it, just get crazy, just shake it off. And I feel like those two things put together really supported me in being able to have a healthy, happy life in the entertainment industry where it can be so crushingly stressful.
Yeah, I love all that, and I relate to it so much.